The shark symbolizes terror, and there is none more deadly than the mako. But is it merely a mindless eating machine? Swift, smart, and deadly. Right now on Wild Discovery.
We all know that dolphins are the super brains of the seven seas. Decades of study have led us to understand and respect them. But in our fear and loathing of sharks, we may have missed signs of intelligence, particularly in this one, the mako. Both shark and dolphins move together. Both have sensed food ahead, answering an undersea summons caused by shoaling fish and feeding gannets. It has also brought the striped marlin and those who prize it as a game fish. This flurry of activity is called the dinner bell. But fishermen like Glenn McFarlane can never be sure who will come to dinner. For every marlin that takes a lure, 10 makos are hooked. Another mako, a young one, a worthy opponent for the fisherman's son. It's a fierce but fair fight, a 200-pound shark battling a 30-pound line. The boy has a victory, but so does the mako. It's tagged and released. Almost all our knowledge of this common yet mysterious shark comes from recatching tagged fish. This young shark loses a few teeth. They'll be replaced in days. This shark is lucky. In the past, even researchers working with other sharks have been known to kill makos, believing them to be too dangerous to work with. But there are some who are prepared to face that danger. Together, filmmaker Mike Bana and marine biologist Craig Thorburn have been studying sharks in New Zealand for more than 5 years. In that time, Craig has come to suspect that sharks possess more intelligence than we give them credit for. Research began with his work as head curator at Kelly Tarleton's Underwater World in Auckland, New Zealand. There he noticed signs that sharks were capable of learning. Over 10 years of watching and recording how different sharks fed, a definite pattern emerged. Sharks newly introduced to the aquarium wolf down as much as they can, as quickly as they can, just as they do in the wild. But after a few months, they calm down and eat less. And what's more, they anticipate the regular twice-weekly feeds. At 10 minutes to 2 every Tuesday and Thursday, before the appearance or the sound of divers, these sharks and their ray cousins become very active. They have learned to anticipate exactly when food will appear. If these captive seven-gill and school sharks adjust their food intake because they've learned that meals come regularly, what about the more highly developed sharks, like the mako? This question set the two researchers off on an amazing trail of discovery and danger. Makos are ocean wanderers. They cannot survive and be studied in captivity. Craig and Mike find game fishermen a valuable source of information, especially when they encounter a tagged mako.
was caught 18 months ago.
Did they say how much bigger it was, your estimate?
Well, we estimated 40, and 18 months before it was estimated 15.
So I think that it wouldn't have grown that much, would it?
Yeah, the little ones you see out there like this, that's like this year's pup. That's a Christmas pup. And he'll put on another 50 centimetres in his first year.
Even dead makos can tell stories. Baby teeth show this is a juvenile, and an autopsy will reveal a lot more. Craig knows from previous autopsies that of all sharks, the mako has one of the biggest brains for its body weight. They may be big-brained, but does that mean they are smart? Working with makos will not be easy. Their huge oceanic ranges extend through tropical and subtropical regions of both the Pacific and the Atlantic as they follow the warm currents with the changing seasons. They're out there, but where? Craig and Mike head for what game fishermen call Shark Alley. It's where they regularly hook makos. It's a zone where the ocean is between 200 and 300 feet deep. This means traveling up to 20 miles offshore into seas renowned for their savage unpredictability. If the makos are out there, they must be tempted to the boat. The usual method of attracting them is a frozen block of chum, minced fish, and fish oil. As the boat drifts, the chum releases a scent trail sinking to the seabed and stretching for miles. They've rung the dinner bell. Now they must wait for the guests. Craig records position, temperature, time, weather, light levels, moon phase. Research is only as good as your data. After 2 hours, there's a lazy movement in the water. It's a blue shark, 10 feet long, which is about as big as they get. A potential man-eater, given the chance. With eyes set on the side of its head, it can't see directly forward. It may not be a mako, but Craig decides to work with it for some comparisons. Mike immediately begins filming, using a pole-mounted underwater camera. What he sees is a beautifully balanced shark, a fluid cruiser on broad gliding fins. Its slow speed means that its escorts, the pilot fish, can keep up. Mike uses a helmet-mounted viewfinder to watch its behavior.
Here you go, baby. Beautiful runs in, just so slow. Back to the prop.
Meanwhile, Craig sets up to record its reaction to foreign objects in the water. But even before he can lay out his colored shapes, the blue hits the bait. As it bites at the tuna, Craig observes how protective membranes automatically cover its vulnerable eyes. And after years of handling sharks in the aquarium, he knows just how far he can push an animal like this. Blue sharks are well studied around the world. They are easy to swim with and handle if there aren't too many around. Claspers beneath the shark's belly show it's a male. The brief restraint is too much for the shark, and with a furious flick of its large tail, the big blue is gone. Almost immediately, two smaller makos move in, as if they had been waiting.
You can get a little closer.
Makos are one of only 4 warm-blooded sharks in the world. To power their muscular bodies, they swim open-mouthed, ram-venting oxygen-rich water across their huge gills. Their strong, stiff tails are built for speed, up to 50 miles an hour. They inspect and reject the floating discs. The mako's binocular vision instantly identifies the tide bait. When it reaches the boat, it behaves just like its cousin, the great white. It rolls its eyes, revealing a thick protective skin on the back of the eyeball. The young mako circles, still looking for food. As soon as new bait is thrown out, it returns. But when it does, the researchers are astounded. Even when pulled clear of the water, it doesn't roll its eyes. It decides that there is no threat. Is the mako thinking? Touching any wild predator normally causes it to attack or to flee. So Mike's next step is very bold indeed. He could easily lose the shark or his hand. Yet the young shark feels safe enough not to roll its eyes, not to fight, and not to flee. And as Mike studies the shark, it appears to study him. What they have witnessed goes against all known shark behavior. It's the breakthrough they've been after. The researchers have found their smart sharks. Craig prepares to tag their subject. Whereas makos tagged after being hooked often react violently, this one barely notices. And if found again anywhere in the world, its history is on its back.
That little guy's been around for a couple of hours now.
But soon after, it disappears. And the reason why looms large. This much bigger mako ignores the bait and immediately begins attacking the boat. The assault rips off the exhaust cowling and bends the propeller. This is a mako with attitude. But why the motor? Mature makos in these waters feed on broadbill swordfish, much bigger than themselves, which they immobilize by biting off their tails. Is this mako going for the tail? Or has it had a bad experience with the boat in the past, which indicates memory? Or is it just having a bad day, implying personality?
A 750-pound killer makes its presence known when Wild Discovery continues.
There is no doubt the decision to study the mako is the right one. and Shark Alley is the place where they can be regularly found. Now it's time to step the research on into other areas of intelligence. Always with a watchful eye on the weather, the daily commuting out to Shark Alley continues. It's been a poor summer so far, and they're anxious to maximize their encounters with makos. The fish finder signals the first stop. Where there's food, there should be sharks. And makos from all around will be picking up on the sounds of these blue mau-mau and trevally. And they certainly would have heard the sound of the boat. The researchers will leave no sense unsatisfied. Unlike the 360-degree audio signal from the fish, the chum trail is only effective in one direction. But it's an irresistible invitation. Makos can smell one drop of blood in 1,000,000 drops of water. The chum goes out, and the waiting begins. Craig goes fishing, which may give the dinner bell yet another ring. The sound and vibrations of a struggling fish broadcast an easy meal to sharks, so Craig keeps his catch dangling invitingly in the water. Suddenly, there's panic among the trevally. It signals the approach of a predator. It goes straight to Craig's fish, but he's anxious not to hook the mako.
There's a flying snapper.
The snapper has done its job, but it is in vain. The big shark disappears. The next mako is a youngster with a large bite mark on its back. It's certainly hungry, so it will likely stay for some time. But before they can bait up to attract it to the boat, it too disappears.
Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
They have a fair idea why it fled. Makos have a hierarchy based on size. A sleek 750-pound killing machine. She's the biggest mako they've seen this year. She won't come near the researchers, so they must go to her. But they're not taking any chances. A mako this size could cut a man neatly in half. But just as Craig reaches the safety of the cage, the mako glides off into the gloom. Has it gone? Or is it just out of sight? Or is there an even bigger shark out there? They have discovered that makos travel in loose packs. Find one, and you're likely to find others. Craig waits. Southern kingfish, some up to 90 pounds, cruise by. This suggests the sharks have gone. Kingfish are fast, but no match for a mako. Still, he waits. A sunfish, a 300-pound dinner platter 12 feet in diameter, all on a diet of jellyfish. Later, a blue. casually sliding through the water like an eel. It's small enough to swim into the cage and large enough to do damage. Craig resists the temptation to get out of the cage to play with him, because the big mako could still be out there beyond vision, waiting. There's more bait inside, but the blue can't get it. Every time it touches the cage, its eyelids instinctively close. It's like a programmed robot. After using the cage, Craig wonders if its noise and its electrical field might interfere with sharks' natural behavior. They'll look at other ways of getting close to their subjects in the water.
Coming up, ringing the shark dinner bell. Makos know what's on the menu. After the break.
With sea temperatures already well below normal, the makos will soon be heading north. Time is running out. But the study of shark senses takes off once again. The current lines ahead can be used to disperse the chum trail over a wider area. They also reveal the food-rich upwellings where makos often gather. The daily visibility check indicates how far sharks can see. In the crystal clear waters, the sun's rays are still reflecting back at 100 feet. Craig and Mike have brought with them an array of scientific dinner bells to test which of the shark's super senses it uses most. An underwater speaker broadcasts pulses of amplified sound of the same frequency as struggling fish. Again, the wait.
What if we try that other tape, Mike?
Alright, put the dolphin one in.
Yeah, I think so, mate.
The next tape is a live recording of dolphins, sharks, and whales feeding on schools of baitfish.
You hear that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that dolphin song's starting to come through quite clear now, eh?
If sharks are around, the sounds will bring them in. If not, the waiting can last all day.
So shark out there, Mikey. Just come up on the sounder now.
The mako swims straight to the speaker. It mouths it briefly, and then heads for the bag of chum, eyeing Craig in the boat as it passes. Makos are highly visual hunters, and so far, this one hasn't seen anything it likes. For the next phase of their research, Craig has some alternative items for the mako menu. He's crafted 2 identical fiberglass fish. They may be low-calorie, but one is high-tech. It is wired to give it the same weak electrical field as a live fish. Both are designed to test the mako's capacity to sense food by electroreception. The plastic fish are only one of several sensory experiments that they will conduct over the following weeks. The results are fascinating. Most makos are attracted by the look of these fish. They usually mouth them both, but they seem to have no preference for the wired fish. The conclusion? Electroreception appears to be a low priority. Conversely, makos hit dead baits every time. Sight is top of the list. Sound and smell may bring the sharks in, but they use sight when about to bite. Vision is often the primary sense of top predators. But are the mako's piercing eyes linked to a powerful brain? The next set of experiments is designed to test intelligence, to find out how quickly they learn. Using a standard conditioned response test, they will attempt to measure how quickly the sharks can learn to associate a specific action with the reward of food. If the mako hits the square, it receives a fiberglass fish. Not much of a reward, but the makos are sufficiently intrigued to at least check it out. They invariably mouth the fish, then cruise on by, waiting for something more appetizing. But then a circle is placed in the water. If it hits the circle, the shark gets real food. How long will it take makos to learn the difference?
Yep, it's ahead. Here you go, Gil.
Most makos begin to hit the circle to get the reward in a surprisingly short time. One of many frustrations is the high turnover of sharks, as larger animals scare away smaller ones. Despite not getting the chance to work with the same animal twice, they're confident that the makos are fast learners. They decide that the time has come to test the makos' people skills. With time running out at the end of the season, Craig and Mike make perhaps the most dangerous decision of their research careers. For this experiment, they will need the cooperation of just the right shark. The researchers know by now that makos decide that being fed from the boat is non-threatening. They don't eye roll. They allow themselves to be handled when receiving food. But was this reaction to the boat or to the researchers? How will young makos react to humans in the water, away from the boat? This young female has been well fed, and they think they know these predators well enough to take a calculated risk. But it could go very wrong. This far from shore and emergency services, an attack is far more likely to be fatal. This is it. Craig and Mike prepare to meet their mako. Away from the boat, will the shark recognize them as the same shapes that fed her earlier? Or are they alien and threatening to the young female? She circles, watching, thinking, then makes her move. She attacks the bait, and when Craig touches her, she ignores him. Friend, not foe. And non-threatened, she quickly returns to the bait. No one has ever hand-fed makos in the water without protective cages or chain mail suits. The divers are armed only with a camera, a dead fish, and their newfound knowledge. And as the divers' confidence rises, so does the sharks. On the Mako's third pass, Craig decides to do the unthinkable. And again, she doesn't react. She decides that Craig's restraint is no threat. Not only that, but she returns for more. This goes against everything they know about predator behavior. They have probably learned far more on this one swim with the young female than from all previous encounters. They have looked into a Mako's eye and met a gaze of acceptance.
Yep. Probably about 40 kilos, something like that, 30 or 40 kilo in weight. Nice little fish.
The researchers have overcome their fear to invade the territory of a deadly predator. They've risked their lives by restraining a wild creature in her own element and survived.
Coming up, the Mako's high-speed attack feeding style. Do they think before they strike? After the break.
With autumn storms approaching, Craig and Mike try one last strategy to probe the mind of a Mako. In 5 years, they've never knowingly seen the same shark twice. But now they hope to change that. By attaching a harmless sonic tag, they will attempt to track the movements of at least one smart shark for as far as they can, for as long as they can. Again, there's little reaction as the tag hits home. It should transmit for 18 months or more, allowing Craig and Mike to work with it at least until it heads north for warmer waters. As long as they can keep the Mako within about 2 miles of the boat, the directional hydrophone should be able to pick it up. Other winter migrants are already moving toward tropical waters. The researchers could be too late. It is heading north straight along Shark Alley. By racing ahead of it, then stopping and listening, they should stay in touch. After an hour of leisurely cruising, the hydrophone indicates that the tagged mako has turned sharply to the right. Far ahead of the shark, another swift ocean predator is ringing the dinner bell. A marlin is slowly working a school of yellowtail mackerel up from the seabed 300 feet below. Its vivid stripes flash iridescently as a sign of frustration at being unable to feed. As long as the bait fish stay in what fishermen call a meatball, the marlin cannot target an individual fish. No matter how hard it tries, it can't break them up. But if it can get them to the surface, help is waiting. A squadron of dive bombers is heading this way, and so is a flotilla of game fishing boats. Gannets are aerial opportunists. They wait, then dive, breaking up the yellowtails and starting the action for everyone. Glenn McFarlane is one of the first to make a strike. This marlin is 400 pounds of muscle on a 30-pound line. In fishing, this is the ultimate contest. Craig and Mike have tracked the tagged mako into the middle of all this frenzy. But their electronic ear is deafened by the sound of 30 boats churning up half a mile of sea. It's impossible to hear the signal with all the boat noise. They can only hope that no one else hooks their shark. But it's the game fishermen that give them an idea on how to find the tagged shark.
He's ready to roll.
They'll tow a bait, but replace the hook with a camera. Maybe this will entice their mako away from the mass of fish and feeding birds. If it works for game boats, it should work for them.
Roll on the marlin.
If only the fishermen could see this.
Yeah, that's going down. Thanks.
Even a 10-foot marlin like this is at risk from makos. They have the speed, but not the mako's brains. At one point, they see several marlin in the same view.
2, 3, 4 of them.
And then their first shark.
Oh, here we go. It's a good sized shark too.
It's not the tagged mako.
Straight through the mono. That must have been, what, 120-pound mono?
Yeah.
Clean cut.
Yeah.
We'll put another one on, eh?
I'll go pull it up.
But another bait fish soon brings another shark.
Fish is swimming better, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, loads better.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, here he comes. Straight through.
Look how fast he's going. Made it different.
They are so fast, they have time to inspect their prey and think before they strike. The victim won't get away. As they cruise close to the meatball, each new bait fish brings a new mako, and their speed is phenomenal.
Look at the size of this little shark.
The bait's nearly as big as he is.
That's probably a year one shark.
One of them's going to come back.
Being so small and the bait so big, this baby shark stays around for some time.
Now their teeth are really fine, needle-like teeth at that age.
He's not having any problems taking chunks.
None at all, none at all. I would have thought that he would have gone for a much smaller fish, eh?
Yeah.
Can I have a look at the camera?
It's a unique opportunity to look at the high-speed attack feeding style of one of the fastest fish in the sea. With the efficiency of a chainsaw, it quickly severs a large chunk of the bait.
Okay, I'll pick it up now. See how fast he went around there?
I've never seen anything like this before, eh?
Yeah. All over it.
The researchers increased their speed to see how fast the little mako really is.
It's 16 k's.
From a standing start, this one-year-old shark takes only a couple of seconds to cover the 100 feet to the bait.
Look at how fast it came when I bought it.
That's acceleration that even the latest sports cars would struggle to match.
A time to bite, eat and swallow, and then just accelerate back up on the bait.
He's got back over 100 feet now. Yeah. He's back on it straight away. Look at that. Bam. So get back to this. Wow, straight into the ground. He's got a good mouth.
It's taken a matter of seconds to bake up 20 or 30 metres.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Though they haven't yet found their shark, meeting makos in the wild has been a fantastic experience.
Coming up, the world of the mako. Power, speed, and determination when Wild Discovery continues.
They will try to meet the obliging star of their latest video face to face.
Yep, 1.10 got girth.
This young shark has been following the boat at high speed for more than 5 minutes. But it's all Craig can do to hang on to it. If makos have good memories, this one will avoid boats in the future. Toward evening, an extensive grid search picks up the tagged mako, still alive and still heading north.
Yeah, I'm getting a signal off an now, mate.
Far away?
I don't know, it's quite a strong signal. I don't think she's that far ahead, eh?
They have entered the remarkable world of the much-maligned mako. But it's just the beginning. Perhaps next summer they will achieve repeated encounters with one shark. Craig and Mike are convinced they're on the trail of the most intelligent fish in the sea. They think makos could be to sharks what humans are to other primates. They're swift, they're deadly, and they're smart.
Coming up next on the world of Wild Discovery, learn ways to avoid and survive shark attacks from scientists and underwater photographers who work with these animals every day. Sharks of the Deep Blue is next.